Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video. In this video, we're not only going to be covering what Ubisoft's latest shooter XDefiant is, but all the details we know about it so far. We'll be going over the factions, weapons, classes, and even some of the game modes. But before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all your XDefiant news and content once the beta and the full game releases. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it, plus you'll always have some videos to watch. It's a win-win. Now let's begin. First up, what is XDefiant exactly? Well, XDefiant is a new free-to-play live service arena shooter being made by Ubisoft. The developers have said that they want to bring a fast-paced arena shooter experience underneath the Tom Clancy umbrella. This game is going to feature multiple factions and classes inspired by other Tom Clancy games, fast-paced and realistic gunplay with unique abilities and ultras distinct to each faction, and a ton of weapons and loadouts you can customize to fit your playstyle. So yeah, it's a free-to-play 6v6 arena shooter that borrows elements from Call of Duty and Overwatch. Let's talk about the gameplay. The main gameplay is all about guns and your aim. They state pretty heavily that even though each faction has their own passives, abilities, and ultras, the game is largely based around solid gunplay and shooter mechanics. This is great because they say that they're bringing many realistic guns and attachments so you can craft a loadout to your playstyle. So through the combination of unique guns and attachments paired with different abilities and ultras, you get a fast-paced shooter with many options and tactics you can use while playing. That's the core gameplay loop. Use your weapons to slay and your abilities to either help you slay more or help your team out. It's also good to mention that this is not a round-based game like Siege is. You will be respawning after you die. And while you're waiting, you have the ability to change your weapons, attachments, and abilities mid-match, meaning you can adjust to whatever tactics the enemy team is using. Now, earlier I mentioned that XDefiant will feature unique factions, so let's talk about those. The various factions will act as your different classes, with each faction taking on a different role with abilities and ultras of their own. First up, we have the Wolves from Ghost Recon. They act as the tank class, specializing in shield-focused abilities that allow you to soak up damage and protect your team. Next, the Outcasts from The Division. This faction will act as the healers, with abilities that can, well, heal and buff their allies. Next, the Cleaners, also from The Division. The Cleaners are your assault or DPS class. They use fire-based abilities to deal insane amounts of damage and dot effects. And then finally, we have the Echelon, which hail from the glorious Splinter Cell series. They act as the support class, with deceptive abilities that hide important information from the enemy team or give information to their own. Each faction is made up of original characters called defiants. These defiants have their own unique personality and set of custom skins that you can equip them with. Think of them as operators from Rainbow Six Siege, but with their abilities changeable to any within their faction, meaning you can pick the character you like the most, like the character with the personality you jive with the best, but you can also use the ability you like the most, making your own custom version of that character that suits you. Now, what good is an arena shooter without its maps and game modes, which we got a lot of information about. For starters, each map will be centered around or based around a theme or location from various Tom Clancy games. For example, one of the maps shown in the reveal trailer takes place in the snowy city of New York from the First Division game. Anyways, the closed test will feature 10 different maps. 7 of those are standard arena maps, and the other 3 are linear maps, which feature a more progressive style of play and change. The standard maps will have 3 different game modes in the closed test: Domination, Ringleader, and Upload. We can assume what Domination is, since it's in quite a few FPSs, but information wasn't really given about what Ringleader and Upload are about. If I had to guess, Ringleader will either be a VIP style of mode or a Regicide style of mode, and I'm predicting that Upload will be an attack and defend style of mode with one team trying to, well, upload something to a computer or something, and the other team trying to stop them. The linear maps will only feature 2 game modes, Escort and Zone Control. Since the linear maps are said to have a more progressive style of play, I'm betting Escort will have one team pushing a payload or escorting, like an NPC or something, and the other team trying to stop them and, take out the person or stop the payload or whatever. Zone Control will feature one team capturing points to push further into the map, with the defending team trying to stop them. Now, that's all speculation, of course, so we'll have to wait and see what the actual modes entail and what their main objective is. Finally, in an interview with Mark Rubin, an executive producer on XDefiant, and Kim Weigand, a producer, they talked about the plans from the closed test leading up to launch. Mark Rubin says they want the game to start humble and that they want to be very transparent and willing to talk about any aspect of the game. Now, this is nice. They're keeping it small and focusing on a good launch, which is always good to hear, and transparency from any game dev is always a good thing. Then they continue to talk about post-launch plans. XDefiant is a free-to-play game, meaning it will be live service. They plan on adding additional factions, defiants, maps, and game modes after launch to keep the game ever evolving and fresh. They state that they won't abandon the game and they want to support it for years and years to come with new content. They also bring up that you can register for early testing and provide feedback to make the game better and, better and better before launch. Lastly, before we end this video, I want to talk about my thoughts on the game. I think that it looks promising. I don't think it looks amazing yet, but I do see how this game could become a success and, more importantly, a fun game to play. The focus on gunplay with the abilities is a tried and true concept that has worked really well for many other games. Like, just look at Rainbow Six Siege. Focuses around strong gunplay, but also has, the operator abilities that can, change things in an infinite amount of ways. So that formula works. So I think if they nail them at launch, I can see this game becoming something truly special and unique. Also, it helps that I'm a huge fan of all the franchises in this game. I love Ghost Recon, I love The Division, and more importantly, I love Splinter Cell, which is what I want to talk about next, all the backlash. From what I've been seeing, now this isn't all the reasons why people are not really liking XDefiant, but from what I've been seeing, the two most common complaints are, number one, it looks odd, it doesn't look good, and number two, where is my fucking Splinter Cell game? For the first one, the game is in early development and in alpha state, so the game will probably look much better and feel much better by the time the game, actually goes live. The second complaint, well, I feel you. I'm a huge Splinter Cell fan, and I'm just as frustrated as anyone else that Splinter Cell things kept being thrown into Siege and Ghost Recon and Far Cry, and yet we still have 0 words on a new Splinter Cell title. It's frustrating, and I get it. But the one thing I'll say is take XDefiant for what it is. It's a new arena shooter coming from Ubisoft. Try to understand and appreciate it for what it is. Like, don't think what could have been, but instead think about what is, if that makes sense. At the very least, just be happy that Ubisoft is trying something new. They're taking a chance on a new style of game and a new tone for their game and for the Tom Clancy name, which should at least be respected. Even if it doesn't end up well, at least they're taking a chance and trying to innovate and do something new. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video. I want to hear from you all. What do you think about XDefiant? Do you think the game looks interesting? And did you enjoy this news type of video? I don't know, so let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all your XDefiant news, breakdowns, and content. I'm the Battle Moon, and I will see you in the next video.